And we're back. Our next speaker is Deepa Daniels. Deepa Daniels, you made a very strong name for yourself in the world of product management and product development. You help launch products and you've helped build teams. Right now, you are working as the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder at Develop Diverse, which is a software tool for inclusive communication. You have an MBA from the Danish Technical University, and you studied disruption at Harvard Business School and also innovation leadership at UC Berkeley. You're based for now in Copenhagen, and you're really passionate about promoting inclusion and diversity. Thank you so much for being with us today, and please go ahead, Deepa.
Thank you, Sadia. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Amazing. I have a tough act to follow from Anad, because that was just like so amazing and wonderful to see the honesty and the power of customer centricity and really listening to and providing, I think, probably the ultimate service to one's customers. So that was really fun. I'm really grateful I got to see that. And I guess I want to say a big, I hope everyone sitting here can take a moment and feel really proud of themselves if you're showing up on your day off to learn and grow as a leader. Then you are embodying so much of what really matters about leadership, which is curiosity and learning, and so many of the things we've talked about today. So I'm really glad that I get to share some hours with this amazing group. I'm going to talk a little bit about, maybe it will sound a bit philosophical, but I will try to share with you why I chose this topic and make it more practical with some stories. Thank you, since Sadia gave me such a wonderful introduction. I will probably not spend too much time on that. I guess I'm a mixed child. I grew up and spent the first 20 years of my life in India. So it's in Chennai and Delhi and Bangalore. So it's it's still a place that's very, very close to my heart. So let's dive right in. My hope is that I will not spend that much time talking, and then we will have more time for questions and discussion. But let's see how we go. So what are we gonna talk about today? What am I gonna share? Kind of a definition of what alienated work is, and how we can create non-alienated work as leaders. So I'll start with my personal why. So I think where I have learned and come up as a leader is in the field of product management, mostly in software companies. And the fascinating and wonderful thing about having a role like this is that you get to lead without positional power. So what that means is nobody is directly reporting to you as a manager, as a people manager. You have to influence and inspire usually a cross-functional team with many specialties, many different skills that are all coming together to build something innovative and something that's going to bring value for business. So my leadership journey has mostly been learning how to lead without positional power, and I feel that also serves me very well now, when maybe in the last years I have had positional power, but I still want to, I always want to lead without that as the main influence. But yeah, the first question kind of is what is alienated work? And I would be curious if anybody wants to hazard a guess, or if anyone here is familiar with the concept of alienated labor. I cannot see the comments, so maybe Sadia, you could help me.
Definitely.
I know it can be a bit scary to unmute yourself and say something, but I am going to just lean into the silence and try and get at least one response before going forward.
Monica says it's the thing that's not normal in worldly terms, and working in silos from Suvalina.
Lack of alignment, probably. Yeah, Deepa. That's my take on that. You don't know there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what your role is, what's happening, what everyone is doing, what's coming up, etc.
Makes perfect answer. Yeah, exactly. And I think as we talk about Agile, it also becomes interesting because at least in the rituals of Agile are all about breaking things into smaller pieces and then bringing them also together. So this is a very like dictionary definition. It actually comes from a Marxist theory. So think about like the Industrial Revolution. We at least in many cultures, we're making a transition from primarily agricultural workforce into a lot of factory jobs and workers in production. And yes, alienated work is when we lose the connection of ourselves and our identity to the product that we are building. And it can happen in any job. And I think from the previous talk from Anna, you could see that there is so much connection to the outcome, to his customers, to like what the meaning of his work was so strong. And I think that is a very powerful place to be in our work lives. A bit more of an explanation of alienated labor could be thinking about a story of, for example, I think we still have watchmakers today, but a lot of it is automated. But there was a period, and this is not even too long ago, like 70 years ago, even 60 years ago, a single person would build a watch, all the different pieces, all the components, and put them together, and they would understand what each piece was doing and how it would all come together to make actually kind of a beautiful device, which could keep time. And, they had the pride in their labor, in their endeavors of building something and giving it to a customer and putting it out there, and it adds value. So like seeing the whole journey from beginning to end, and also seeing who uses it and the impact, there's fulfillment in that. That's very powerful. And I guess like some of the answer says, we have constantly increasing complexity in a lot of what we do today. So I like to think of the example of rockets. So, there is a particularly large interest in space travel and leaving the Earth's atmosphere right now. And one interesting data point is that I think it's like 95% of the cost of building a rocket is not material, it's people. So knowledge is the primary currency in what it takes. And there's a lot of components, there's a lot of physical pieces in building a rocket, but that is just such a small part of the cost. And I think if you look at a lot of companies today, and you were to look in their, go deep into their cost structure, the majority of what is spent is on salaries. So specifically in a world of knowledge work where, and I love Anna's presentation too, because that's what he said. He was like, my attitude is my USP, or my unique selling proposition. So I think for so many of us, and probably for almost everyone sitting in this call, the knowledge And that's not just the skills, although the skills are very important. It's also the soft skills and the attitude. Like that is what brings value. And we cannot do it alone. It's like the combination of many different skills. So to build a rocket, I think there's like something like 86 different engineering roles that contribute to it. But the challenge can be in this increasing complexity, and we want to make more and more interesting and complex things. It becomes really tricky for everybody to see the big picture. And I like this silo example because, you know, as we look at this picture, I think, at least for me, I think, okay, probably if you're maybe on the very top of these silos, you can see how they connect. But anywhere else that you are in the silo, you're pretty disconnected from seeing the big picture and from having that connection to, you know, what does this all mean, and why, you know, how does what I am doing contribute to the goal, to the big picture? How can I feel joy and satisfaction in delivering whatever it is that I'm making to a customer or to the world without you know, while being somewhere down in my functional skill or in my small team or silo. Yeah, and I guess before we move on from this into like how we can create non-alienated work, I think it's there's a lot of risks to completing a project or to building a new product when people cannot see the value of what their daily work and contribution is into the bigger picture. There's loss for them as an individual because it's really tricky to feel engaged and to you know, keep working and building something when you just like, you don't even think what you're doing really matters, or you don't see how it matters. So there's risk for the individuals, and then there's also risk for the business because yeah, if many people on a team are not understanding how what they're doing impacts and like why they're doing it, then it's pretty likely that things are not going to go to plan. So I guess with all of those words, I hope that I have like painted a picture of like what alienated work is, like when we have a disconnection between what we are doing and building in our day-to-day work and why it matters, and who, you know, the end product, and feeling like I did that, I made that, the satisfaction and fulfillment that can come. Yes, maybe I will like pause for a minute and take a breath and see if there are any questions or even just thoughts or comments before we go into looking at how to make non-alienated work.
Yeah, so dear audience, now that we've heard Deepa's really amazing talk on alienated work, what are your thoughts on this? Is this something that you have experienced in your everyday lives? Is it something that you recognize? Is it something that you've dealt with before?
I will just say that my previous team, which I was working, a set of teams which we was working pretty much in non-alienated way. So we were working together, had a whole picture view, and I could see how that was much, much better than the current team setup I am working in, wherein everyone is just working in silos. So I'm coming from a good picture to bad, but I think this session, I'm looking forward to the second part, which will help me understand how to eliminate or how to develop non-alienated such that I can help my current team to become more joined up together. Thank you.
So this is something you see right now, Monica, in your job. Yeah. Any other thoughts and comments?
I think that as in the first session, we heard that alignment is very important. And alignment happens when team sees the value in what they are producing. And that's very, very important that they are able to relate the value to what they are doing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a software engineer or whether it's a team leader. They should know the value they are adding. So it's very important.
Thank you, Priyanka. That was a very valid observation indeed.
I personally think, Deepa, I think work is not that kind of alienated. It's more about the removing the alienation of the people. If you remove the alienation of people, work is automatically get together. I might be wrong, but this is some thought which I have.
I like that. I like that.
Thank you, Amit.
Yeah, thank you for the really interesting thoughts and observations. I feel like yeah, if we had time, I'm sure each of us has personal more than one personal story of when we have experienced, you know, really feeling connected and also when we haven't. So I do not have all the answers. And I guess my hope with this next section is just to ask a few questions and to propose a few ideas that each of you can reflect upon. So this is one of my favorite quotes and something I think a lot about while, for example, hiring someone or even posting a job ad and bringing someone new into the team. Just this idea of, you know, the responsibility of someone doing a good job. And sometimes we as leaders are asked to rate performance and to say, like, how is someone doing? And I guess I think it's really interesting to think about, like, what are the jobs that we're giving people, and are those good jobs? And do they have, so what does good mean? I think it changes a lot depending on the industry, on the role, but there are some fundamental connectors that are required for people to feel engaged with their work. And those are achievement. So that feeling that you have achieved and done something, that's pretty important. Recognition, being seen, probably from your peers, probably also from maybe your manager and other leaders. Having responsibility, so really being given that trust and ownership of your work. Of course, you know, working conditions also matter, and being in an environment that is conducive for you. The team dynamic and the interpersonal relations. And then a really important one is also advancement and growth, right? Like, people will often not continue to stay in a job if they don't see a path for advancement and growth. So these are all like components or dimensions of what a good job is. And I did not come up with these ideas. They come from a lot of studies about why people are engaging with their work. And I have links when I share the presentation, which you could go in and read more about if you would like. And then a way that I like to picture this is that as an individual, can I look at something, just like see just myself and why, like, my role, my job, what I'm doing is important as a member of the team, and then also zooming out and seeing the bigger picture, right? So, and there's cognitive load here, because we cannot, maybe there are some of you in this room that have like amazing capacity to keep everything in your head, but most of us, we can really only stay connected to about 100 people, or like keep all of those things in our brains all the time and really have a good sense of the main important things that we need to keep track of, right? And in this world with increasing complexity, there's more and more information, there's more and more things you need to learn. It's always more. So I think one of the challenges and also beauties of creating an environment like this is making it as easy as possible for people to see, here's the big picture and here's my part. Like, this is how I fit in with the big, beautiful tree. Or maybe it's a forest because it's such a big company, or maybe it's just a small bush and you're still a small organization. But being able to help people to zoom in and zoom out, so both feel personally fulfilled, but also to see, oh, I'm a part of this bigger beautiful creation and outcome, or whether that's a product or a service or knowledge. So seeing the leaf or the tree, and seeing the forest as well. And my hope is actually to spend whatever time we have left, and Sadia, I would be happy if you keep the time on this, I would love to hear from everyone in this room, because I think there's so much leadership knowledge right here with all of us sitting here together. These two questions. So the first question is more personal. So when you look at yourself, is how you are leading and how you are experiencing work. How do you feel that, and how does it impact your leadership? And then the kind of, so more of the zoomed in view, and then the zoom out view is, does your team, whether you are managing them or you are collaborating with them, do they understand how what they are doing impacts the outcome or impacts the bigger picture? Can they see their creativity and their knowledge in the end product or in the outcome of what you're building and doing? And I think this is kind of what I wanted to end with, is these questions. And I don't necessarily say I have all the answers, but I'm happy to answer, and I'm also happy to hear other answers and perspectives from other people in this conference.
That's great. And we have the room for 3 to 4 questions or answers, depending on where you are right now. So the floor is open for that. So please go ahead. It looks like we're all thinking.
Hi Deepa, this is Gaurav here. So I have a quick thought probably. When I look at most of the teams, right? So most of us are kind of doing a multitasking these days, right? And everybody is working on multiple projects, right? And it really becomes difficult to align to a purpose, right? So it becomes more important to get the job done, right? Rather than understanding, why I am doing it, connecting it to a purpose, right? And then understanding, am I doing it right? So the pressure is more on, please get it done. So kind of a alien works come in, you get it done and it goes away. You deliver it. You're never able to relate why it is done, right? So how do you view that? Like, what's your suggestion on?
Yeah, that's a great observation. I think that is the reality. If I'm very pragmatic, that's often just there's always too much to do. We are stretched in so many different directions. I don't think there are any easy answers, and I can just say what has worked for me is when I'm in a leadership position, I get to clarify this and to do my best to make that like purpose and why clear for the team that I'm working with and responsible for leading. But even as an individual, it starts with me blocking time, really digging into, what is here, what is motivating me, why am I doing what I'm doing? Sometimes the reality is that I have to quit that job because if I cannot believe it myself, it's very hard for me to convince others. But yeah, I think you can do it for some time, and you can push yourself to keep going even when it's too much and you don't really see anything. But at some point, it's not sustainable. So finding a way to gain that. Maybe it's like, depending on the product you have, go spend some time with a customer once a month. Take the team to see the results. If it's a medical device, go into a hospital. Find an activity that will ground and connect you to the outcome. Keep asking your leader, like, can we see the usage results from what we shipped? Can we see the impact, right? Like, it's not easy, but I think it keeps you going on the tough days if you can connect to a greater purpose.
Yep,
Thank you for
thanks.
that very relevant question. Amit, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Thanks, Adi. Thank you very much. And Deepa, this is such a really thought-provoking kind of thing over here, especially I'm looking at the slide. And I was just thinking, obviously, maybe people are aware on this case, the impact of the alienation out of work. Maybe less valuable things comes out from the work people are doing. But one thing which is going into my mind, why this is happening actually? Why this alienation is happening? What is the reason behind this? And based on my experience, which I had, especially with my organization I worked with, sometimes what happens, being a CEO, being an entrepreneur, being an owner of the company, I do have vision, right? This is something very close to me. I really want to achieve this. This is my baby. And I feel really frustrated when people, those are working with me on the same vision, they are not that much involved into that. I go into frustration. But sometimes I personally feel, obviously, if I do have a baby in my house, my daughter, I don't think so my neighbor would be going to love the way I'm loving her. But somewhere we have to make them understand that this baby is something very valuable for you as it is for me. If I'm going to give that message to people so that they can start loving it, maybe we could, somewhere achieve this kind of, can move this alienation of work from the workplace. Most of the time it happens that normally we know this is my baby, I love this baby, obviously this I have to achieve, but sometimes we fail to sell this idea to the people. This is equally your baby as well. And if you are going to take care of it, we can do wonders. Again, this is my thought. I don't know, but this is something I've observed.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Yeah. The expectation of people to love something or to care for something as much as I do myself is a tricky one. I guess my approach is that I don't expect them to care as much, to care the same as me. I actually want them, so I want to walk around and look at it from where they sit. What do they see? What do they need to see in order to feel connection and fulfillment? It might be very different from what I need. And can I facilitate that? Can I help them to gain that? And I think there's, when you look at different roles or different people, they will have different things they care about, different things that are important to them. So I think it's also, it takes energy and time to walk around and see it from the different people, from the different perspectives, and to build incentives and rewards and recognition that will be valuable to them. But yeah, that's a really good reflection.
Thanks,
Thank you
Deepa.
for that reflection, Amit. We have room for one final question. I'm seeing a comment from Rajat that you've experienced alienation that leads to sub-optimization within each silo And this results in lack of engagement, innovation, accountability, reduced customer satisfaction, etc. A question to reflect could be, how many times do you see your organization leader is sharing the big picture? And is it enough for you and your team? And how do you share the big picture?
Yeah, that's a great one. Both to think of it for ourselves as individuals or as leaders, but then also to hold our leaders accountable.
Definitely a really good question to reflect on, Rajat. So thank you for asking that. Vandana, you have the final question. Please go ahead.
No, I totally, so thanks Deepa for this insightful session. But how we can connect to the people, right? In which perspective we have to connect. That is what I feel a lot of challenges there. Yeah, different roles, different ways of thinking, different perspectives will come into picture, right? Again, same as Rajat, what Rajat has asked. What type of picture will be better for a situation? That will change from organization to organization, product line to product line, the type of delivery model that we are working. So it is at the present, what is value to you? What is the thing that you want to achieve from the people and have a connect? And the second point that you are telling, that how we can motivate that people in bringing that value or building that connect, giving rewards or recognition or incentives, I highly doubt like people will get really motivated with that. Incentive, yeah, money is a matter, but rewards and recognition, I don't know. Does it still valuable in this agile world?
Yeah, I think those are really, really realistic perspectives. I will maybe take the second one first. So research shows us that in the beginning, when we maybe until a certain threshold, and that is different in different economies, until a certain threshold, the biggest incentive that matters is compensation. But after we reach a certain point and we have probably all of our needs and many of our wants met, which in my experience is most knowledge workers have quite a good compensation, right? If you are a senior engineer, if you're working in technology, you are probably physically comfortable and have your fundamental needs met. Then we start to have higher needs. We start to look for, how does my manager, how does my boss make me feel? How do I feel with the people around me? Are they listening to me? Do I feel like I'm in a team where I want to be talking with them? So I think as we journey through our careers, our needs continue to change. So I do think that recognition and growth and being in an environment that you value begins to matter more and more once the threshold of the basic needs are met. And sometimes it's not just compensation, sometimes it's also personal maturity and growth, or just being in bad situations where you learn what you don't like, and then you're more careful about what you do choose to do or where you choose to spend your time, because that's the thing we can never get back, is actually our time. And I guess, sorry, can you remind me of the first question? I feel like I have missed it.
No, for the first thing, I was giving a general thing, like how we can connect to the people on different levels. What I was sharing is that it will be based on organization to organization, to the product. It will be based on the current ask. What is the outcome, right?
For sure. I think there's probably many good perspectives. To me, what has served me well has been just caring, to really care for the people. And I cannot care for everybody, but if somebody is on my team and I am in some way responsible for motivating them, I care about them as a person. I want to listen and see who they are. What do they care about? What makes them feel good? What makes them feel bad? What are the biggest struggles, right? So just asking questions and listening and observing. And I guess if we take the agile mindset, running experiments, getting feedback, I think that is one of the best tools to grow as a leader, is to constantly collect feedback. And this is not easy to do, especially as you create greater power distance with the people that you work with. It becomes increasingly less, there's almost no incentive for someone to give you honest feedback or critical feedback about you as a person when you are leading them. Why will they tell you something bad? You will probably punish them. So to really have the consciousness and the reflection to listen and learn from the people around you, that I can remember from Vikas's talk, he was talking about how they know, they can see it. So, and then sometimes as you, when you stop learning and you stop listening, then you're not going to see it anymore. So to really go out of our ways as leaders to really want to ask the team to tell you the bad things, that will mean that you can be conscious of the behaviors or the things in yourself that are hindering the individual or the team.
Thank you, Deepa. We're running out of time, and it's such an exciting topic, and I feel that everyone is in a reflective zone right now, because the questions you've asked and the presentation you gave us has definitely